All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into Nicholas Katko's book, The Lean CFO, to explore a pretty radical idea. What if your finance team could transform from just keeping score into architects of your company's entire success? So let's just kick things off with a question that might sound a little crazy at first. What if the very financial reports you rely on, the ones meant to measure performance, are actually secretly encouraging your teams to be wasteful? What if they're rewarding the wrong behavior and nobody even sees it happening? And that question leads us right into what's called the CFO's dilemma. You've got these brilliant, highly skilled finance leaders, but they're stuck. They're trapped using accounting systems that, yeah, were once the gold standard, but are now totally out of step with how fast, lean, modern companies need to work.
And here's the real heart of the problem. The accounting rulebook most companies still play by, it was written for a completely different game. It was designed for the age of giant factories and mass production, where the #1 goal was to keep those huge, expensive machines running no matter what. But in today's world of lean thinking, flexibility, and customer value, those old rules just don't make sense anymore.
So let's get into the specifics of why these old systems are so bad. We're not just talking about being unhelpful. We're talking about being actively harmful. It is a perfect example of a system that is literally working against itself. The main villain in this story has a name. It's called standard costing. Now, to put it simply, this system basically judges a factory's performance on how well it absorbs all its overhead costs. Things like rent, utilities, machine depreciation. And what's the easiest way to make it look like you're absorbing all those costs? Simple. You just produce more stuff, a lot more stuff. And this analogy just hits the nail on the head. Imagine you paid a chef based on how many pounds of flour and vegetables they used, instead of on how amazing the food tastes. You get a mountain of food, for sure, but a whole lot of it would be wasted, right? Well, that's exactly what standard costing does. It incentivizes overproduction.
And this just lays the conflict out so clearly. On one hand, your lean strategy is all about reducing inventory, improving the flow of value to the customer, being more flexible. But on the other hand, the financial system is yelling at your managers, produce more, build up that inventory, keep those machines running. The two are in a complete and total clash.
So, if the system itself is the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, it all starts with a total reinvention of the chief financial officer's role. This isn't about being a slightly better bookkeeper. It's about becoming a true architect of a brand new system. This quote just nails it. This is the whole pivot right here. It's about moving the CFO from being a passive reporter, just telling you what happened last month, to being an active designer of the very systems that are going to create future success. And this mindset shift is huge. It's about moving away from this narrow obsession with just controlling costs and instead focusing on the bigger picture, creating real, sustainable value. It's about looking forward, shaping the future, not just looking in the rearview mirror to report on the past. Okay, so if the CFO is now an architect, what are their new blueprints? What's in their new toolkit? Well, this is where we get a new way of seeing the business, a way that offers incredible clarity that just wasn't possible before. The absolute game changer is something called value stream accounting. So forget about all those complex, messy cost allocations that, let's be honest, nobody really understands anyway. This new method organizes all the financial info around your value streams, which is really just all the steps it takes to get a product from an idea into a customer's hands. It shows you clearly where you're actually making money. And look, this isn't just some textbook theory. The author of the book, Nicholas Katko, he actually did this. He was the CFO at a company called Bullard, and they put this system into practice. And the result? They were able to make much better, much faster decisions because they were finally looking at real data that made sense. Okay, just look at the night and day difference here. On the left, you have the traditional P&L, where everything important is buried in this one giant confusing number called cost of goods sold. Now look to the right at the value stream P&L. It's so simple, it's beautiful. You've got your revenue, you see your direct material costs, you see the cost to actually convert it, and bam, there's your profit. It's clear, it's actionable, and the whole team can actually understand it. So, what's the bottom line? What really happens when a company makes this kind of change? What's the tangible payoff? Well, the results are pretty dramatic, and they go way beyond just having a cleaner-looking financial statement. First, let's talk about cash. I mean, it's always about the cash, right?
By finally getting the financial system to reward lean behavior, companies stop making all that extra inventory just for the sake of it, and that frees up a ton of cash that used to be just sitting there collecting dust on a shelf. A 25% bump in cash flow is totally typical.
But the benefits just ripple out from there, across the whole business. When you have clear, simple data, your decision-making gets way faster and way smarter. When you stop focusing on just keeping machines busy, you suddenly discover all this hidden capacity you never knew you had. And of course, you see a massive drop in all kinds of waste. So when you put it all together, the Lean CFO becomes this incredible catalyst for the whole company. They align the financial plumbing with the company's real strategy, they serve up clear data that actually helps people, they get rid of wasteful old habits, and they empower everyone to make better decisions that drive real long-term success. And that really brings us to the final question to think about. This whole transformation, it's not really just about accounting, is it? It's about fundamentally changing how an entire organization sees itself and what it's capable of. And it really makes you wonder, what hidden opportunities could a lean CFO unlock in your organization?